You know, in this world, in this world you have to walk on 2 feet, you cannot walk on 1 foot. Everything has to be has to be day and night, has to be left and right. There has to be good and bad, there has to be love and there has to be hate. Doesn't mean hating people, it has to be hate of evil. It has to be hate. You know what to do with it. Also, there's a very deep thing, there's such a thing as being in the house and the street. So the Torah says you have to say Krishma. That means you have to draw upon yourself the oneness of God when you are in the house and when you're on the street. Okay. So he says mitzvah is Krishma, the mitzvah of the oneness of God, of telling the world there's one God, telling yourself, and not just telling but really like strong. She is Sait Emunah, which is the foundation of what we believe in. Hu b'shivtecha b'vesecho is when you sit in your house, when you walk on the way. Let me first read it to you and I will explain it. Because you know, a person has to know there is such a thing as outside and inside. You know, a person who doesn't know the difference outside and inside is not even an outsider. Especially it's very strong today. Today we suffer from this terrible sickness which is called everything is the same, you know? Which really is a sickness of our generation. You know? You don't know anything what's right. Everything is the same, you know, and you have to understand the other side. You know? All stupidity. This outside talk. But this is the kind of outside talk which eliminates even the inside. You know? Because at least the person on the street knows there's also such a thing as living in a house. Because I'm sorry, I'm too poor to get myself into a house, you know. Okay, so the first thing is you know, the deepest inside of a person is not what he knows, but what he believes in. That's the deepest inside of a person. This knowing, I cannot 12 languages, right? Therefore, knowing is nothing, right? I can remember the telephone book of the whole world by heart, therefore. Knowing is nothing. The question is, maybe some of the kids remember, we're learning it the last few nights, that believing is not just believing. Believing is, what are you tied to, you know? Where are you? Where's the heaviness of your life? That's the heaviness of your soul. Where is it? What is the most important thing to you? The deepest, most important thing to me in my life, how come I will not be ready to die for what I know, but I'll be ready to die what I believe in. Right? It means it's so heavy that my whole life depends on it. Right? It's the deepest depths of my life. And again, I don't want to get involved because last time we were talking so much. Let's forget the word believe or faith. Just listen to the Hebrew word Emunah. It's just better, you know. So Emunah is the first level of Emunah is like outside. Okay, I'm saying there's one God. I believe in it. I have Emunah, but I'm still on the level of an outside. Then slowly, I'm getting to the level of an inside. Just to give you a taste of outside and inside, you know, the Baal Shem Tov says when a thief he does this little trickelach and he's breaking in. What is he doing while he's he's robbing a bank, and what's he doing there while he parks the car, runs into the bank? What do you think he's doing while he's doing that? He's praying, right? Please, God, don't make me the cause of noise. Please. And I'm working always for you, God. Whatever I steal is I'm giving half of it for another thief, United Jewish Thieves, Anyway, so he says, listen, you better help me, God, So he's praying. So the question is, if he's so really aware of God, how come you're stealing? But the truth is, he's an outsider. Doesn't touch him. And, even a murder, God forbid. What do you think of murder while he pulls the trigger? He says, please, God, I promise you this is the last time I'm killing. I'm cutting out my business. Just this time it's a big deal, and, I need the money. Everybody's praying. But they're complete outsiders. But then, the difference between being an insider when it comes to Emunah and an outsider is very simple. An outsider Emunah never feels any newness. It's an old person. Imagine if let's say I believe in God, right? And I'm an outsider. So finally it's going on my own nerves already. Okay, I believe in God my whole life. So therefore, nothing happens, right? And you see all those people who at one time believed in God and then they lose it. Why did they lose it? Because they were outsiders. That's always old. How long can you eat old bagels? I mean, how long can you keep Shabbos? That's always the same Shabbos, the same draggy thing. Every Pesach the same matzah, right? This is only because you're an insider. Inside is always new. I tell you something very strong. You have to realize one thing, it's the same between people. Outside people eventually go on each other's nerves. Inside is always new. I hate to say bad things. Most marriages today, outside marriages, right? Nothing inside. So, I mean, how long can you schlep around with each other, How long can you look at the most beautiful face in the world, I mean, let's say you're married to Miss America. I mean, okay, good, It's very sweet, but finally, how far can you go, right? But this is only if it's on the outside. Inside is always new. So just remember, the outside is when I walk on the street. The street is on the level of outside. What's on the street? I'm not living there. It's outside. Inside is the level, my house, inside. You see, again, we'll learn a little bit later. Not every house is already an inside. I wish it would be. I wish it would be. Because children really have to grow up inside. They can't grow up on the street because they need inside. Saddest thing in the world is we so-called grown-ups, we're already so dead that we can live without this absolute newness every day. Children can't. They need a house. House is the absolute newness inside. Because what am I doing when I'm on the way? This very beautiful נחמן. You see, for us the physical and the spiritual is all the same, right? Just going hand in hand. What am I doing on the street? I buy merchandise and I bring it home, right? I do my business on the street, I make money, and I use it at home, right? That means the street is only there to get the merchandise, and then I bring it at home. That means, what am I doing? I'm taking everything from outside, but I want to turn it into an inside. On the street, I learned a lot of things. You have to realize something very deep. The street is a very deep place. Very deep place. Very, very deep. You see, on one hand, the inside is deeper. On the other hand, there's a certain kind of depth on the street. Right? Very, very deep thing. Because a person who's only, imagine a person who has never been outside the street is also dead. He can be new, but he's dead, right? You don't know what's going on. And you have to realize something very, very, very deep also, which is absolute depth. If you want to know what's going on in the world, where do you find it out? Not at home. At home, in a crazy way, at home is always the same. Imagine, I never go out on the street, how would you know? I would never know what's going on in the world, right? Or where do you get to feel what's going on in the world? Outside. So this is this tremendous, strange contradiction. Right? On one hand, the house is the inside of the inside, and the street is the outside. And yet there's a certain great light shining on the street also, which you don't have at home. But you go on the street, and you get all those great holy sparks which are running around on the street. You get them, then you go home, and you turn them into insight. Now something very strong. You know, everybody knows that there is such a thing as light in vessels, right? Every light has a vessel. At home, the depth of the house is that it's a vessel, right? For light. The street is light without vessels. Now you have to realize something very, very deep, utmost depth. The utmost depth is that today even stronger than ever, the so-called street people, they have something very special about them, you know. They have a great light. The only thing is, they have no vessels for it, right? So light without vessels is breaking, destroying. It's not constructive. What do you need vessels for? Then you know what to do with your light. And you know, the saddest thing today, because sad enough, we're living in a world where the house stopped being inside, because most people just come, well, do most parents come home, you know, twice, to watch television and make telephone calls, and then they go out. It's not the inside, not the holy inside anymore. You know, Rab נחman has a special prayer, and I'm sorry I don't have this book of prayers with me. Such a holy prayer. Rab נחman is praying, please God, let me have a house. And in the house, let me have a room. And in that room, let me have a corner. And in that corner, let me have a chair. And in that chair, let me have a little spot. But when I sit on, I know there really is one thing. It's very, very deep. You see, even take it on the family level, on the family life level. People live together, but yet they don't live all over the house. They're walking around all over the house, but that when they're together, it's a special room, right? Very special thing. And even in that special room is a special place. Everything special, more deep and more deep and more deep and more deep. So a person has to know of God on two levels. You have to know of God on the outside level and on the inside level. You have to know of God on the level of light without vessels, you know, blowing your mind all the time. Then you have to know of God on the level of vessels. And it's very, very deep. I want you to know something very strong. That the street person, when he comes home, he doesn't expect an outside home. Outside, you see, because outside has to be outside. The moment you say come home and there are no vessels, you're fooling that kid, right? So if I tell somebody, you know, okay, stop being a street person and come home, become a house person, they want vessels, right? But they don't want vessels for little things, they want vessels for their light. You see, as I told you before, the holiness of the house is that I buy my merchandise on the street and then I bring it home. That means the way God created the world is that there is such a very deep thing that I can take all the outside light which is shining in a crazy way and put vessels to it. inside, and that inside of my inside of my inside. But you know what I have to do? I have to be on the street. It's very, very important. I have to be on the street. Because if I'm only in my house, I'm also unemployed. Because the whole idea of the house is I'm taking all the lights from the street and get to their inside, make vessels for them. So therefore he says, a person has to know something very, very deep. But now let me tell you something even deeper than that. There are two ways of making vessels for light. Okay, imagine I can come home and bring my wife flowers, right? So I bought, say, 2 dozens of flowers. But the saddest thing is she doesn't have a vase for it. So she says, okay, we have to throw out 6 flowers, just have enough room for 6. So what she do? So she made a vessel for the light of the flowers, right? But the saddest thing is, she knocked off 6 flowers, which is a sad scene. Most of the time, people who make vessels for light, why is it most kids, the moment they go to school, they feel like someone's cutting them around? Because what is school for? To make vessels, right? School is make vessels. So how do people make vessels today? It's the age of tailor-made age, of Schneider age, Everybody's a tailor. A rabbi is a tailor. A school teacher is a tailor. Everybody's cutting all over. But this isn't the way it should be. Right? But then, you know where it's coming from? Taking me very deep. If I at home have already prepared the vessels, then you bring me a little light and says, listen, you have to try your light into my vessels. Which is a very bad scene. Then half of the light gets lost. That's why in this world, the greatest talents are lost. Right? Today, we are living, thank God, in an age where our greatest talents are absolutely lost. Absolutely lost, all over the place. The biggest people today are always the second-rate people. They hit it big. The top people, they get lost on the street because they have no home. Because the people who are supposed to give vessels for them, they won't say, okay, brother, you have 10 tons of light, I have a sweet little vessel for 5 inches, Cut it out. And the sweetest thing in the world is the people who have never been on the street, the house people, they say, listen, got to be realistic. Because they don't know what's going on the street, right? They're sitting at home watching television. They don't know God's oneness. They don't know the secret of God. And I want you to bear in mind something very strong. When I talk about oneness of God, I don't mean what some people think God's oneness means. I walk on the street and say, love you, love you, love you, love you. That's called oneness. It's very sweet, but this is what I mean. Oneness of God means actually the secret, the way God makes himself manifest at this particular moment, that generation. For instance, today, what great moments we have in our lives, utmost. I talked to this little man there. I explained to him the situation. I make it clear to him because I want to learn, right? Listen, if you pray to God, you want something, why don't you make it clear? Or why do you sit there and think of something else? Because you really don't think he's listening. And therefore he says, now listen, this is so deep. You know what happens to you when you stop believing in what you really believe? How sad that makes you. Now listen to this, what he says. You see, the world thinks because I'm sad, I'm lazy. Let's just stop. נחman says no. Start somewhere much deeper. It is because you don't believe in what you want to believe. Obviously. You want to believe in it, right? And you think you believe in it, but then you don't. So you get lazy. You don't really feel like doing it because maybe God really doesn't listen. But after that, Gewalt, you get sad. You know, if my heart is filled with longing for learning, right? But then I don't really think that'll help me. Get lazy. Get lazy, I'm so sad. Why am I not learning? What's wrong with me? I only from נחמן says such thing. He says, what happens to a little seed under the earth? When you put it in certain soil, it grows. When you put it in other soil, it doesn't grow. He says, you know what it is? When the seed is in the soil where it's hard to grow, then the poor little seed loses faith that will ever grow. This little seed, if it's not in the right place, it's very hard for that little seed to believe it'll ever grow. And if it doesn't know if it'll grow, it's too lazy to grow. And then it becomes so sad. And then it dies from sadness. So he says something very strong. This is utmost steps. Emunah in Hebrew, vayomen es hadasa. He says, Emunah, belief, comes from the word growing. You know what it is to believe? That means you're in that place where you know you can grow. It gives you strength to grow. And if you know you'll grow with it, it'll be very strong, then you're not lazy. And if you're not lazy, you're doing it. And if you're doing it, you're happy, right? But if you're in the wrong place, and this little ingredient called being in the right place to grow, you're not the seed within you is not in the right place, then you're too lazy. Because you don't know, maybe it won't, just doesn't. Then you're sad. Then he said something very strong. How come a little seed is growing despite the wind, despite the rain, despite everything in the world? Because it's really a miracle. A little seed is lying out there in the ground for so long with the weather and the storms. It should be knocked out 1,000 times. But don't kid yourself as if this little seed has believed in growing, it has this holy Emunah. No wind in the world can knock it out. This little seed that it knows, brother, going to be the biggest apple tree in the world. Then he says, this little seed, kabal that pray with great fire. Remember the what Shem Tov says, the taste of the apple depends on how much the seed is praying, what is under the earth. And the prayer of the seed depends on how much prayer the little peasant puts it in. One more thing. Also very, very deep. If I'm not sure about it, if I deep down in my heart, I'm not sure, I don't believe the way I should, then I'm afraid of everything. If I really have this whole Emunah, I'm in the right place where I know I'm growing, I believe I'm growing, I'm not afraid of anything. How deep this is, just mind-blowing. Now listen to this. If you see somebody who is afraid, so you would say that their problem is fear. Again, the problem isn't fear. Their problem is that they're not in the place where they mamish believe that they can grow. And if they are not so sure they can grow, then they're filled with fear. Maybe I won't grow. And if I won't grow, who knows? Okay, now listen to this. He says this is mamish the secret of life. This is absolutely the secret of everything. What is the difference between somebody who really serves God